I used to think night shifts were just boring. Now, I know they can drive you insane. And I'm not even sure I made it through that night unscathed. My name's Alex. I worked at a small, independently owned printing press in Spokane, Washington, back in 2017. The business ran mostly during the day, but every week someone had to cover the overnight shifts to manage ongoing print jobs, security checks, and occasional deliveries. I volunteered one Friday night, partly for the extra pay, partly because I liked the quiet. I was 24, single, living alone, and thought it would be easy. Just check machines, load paper, answer the occasional phone call. The building was old. Brick walls, creaky floors, long fluorescent lights that buzzed constantly. It was mostly empty except for me and the occasional delivery driver. Everything was normal at first. I spent the first hour checking inventory, wiping down machines, and logging print jobs. Around midnight, I heard the first strange sound, a low tapping from the hallway outside my office. At first, I thought it was a loose pipe. But then I heard footsteps, soft, deliberate, pacing back and forth. I called out, "Hello? Who's there?" Nothing. The office had no windows on that side, but I swore I saw a shadow move past the glass panel in the door. I shook it off as fatigue. Night shifts can mess with your mind, I told myself. Around 2 a.m., things escalated. The fluorescent lights started flickering rhythmically, not random, but in a pattern. 3 flickers, pause. 2 flickers, pause. Then 1. I froze. The buzzing of the lights sounded almost like someone whispering under the hum. I went to the main floor to check the machines. One of the large presses was already running, even though I hadn't started it. And the print tray was full of paper, each sheet covered in pages of text I didn't recognize. They weren't official documents. They were my words. I hadn't written them, not in years. The papers detailed things I hadn't told anyone. Personal thoughts, fears, memories from childhood. And they were all time-stamped 5 minutes earlier. That's when I started hearing whispers, soft, almost imperceptible, coming from the vents, the machines, even the floorboards. They weren't words at first, just hissing. But gradually, I recognized the voice, mine. "Go home. You shouldn't be here. Why are you alone?" I ran to the front door, locked, checked the back exit, locked. My phone, no signal. I grabbed a fire extinguisher and walked down the main hallway, lights flickering in eerie patterns. The sound followed me, growing louder, more desperate. Then in the main printing room I saw it, a figure standing in the shadows, tall, thin, featureless like a black silhouette. It mimicked my movements perfectly. When I raised the extinguisher, it raised its arms. When I shouted, it mouthed my words back to me. I don't remember exactly how I escaped. I think I ran blindly into the delivery area, shoved open the back door, and didn't stop until I was halfway to my apartment. I quit the job the next day. I tried to tell people, but they assumed I was sleep-deprived or stressed. Even now, I don't talk about it much. Sometimes I dream about that night, standing in the dark printing room, hearing my own voice whispering from every corner. And occasionally, when I'm alone at home, I swear I hear a soft hum, like the rhythm of those flickering fluorescent lights echoing somewhere in the walls. I've never returned to that building. I don't know what it was. Human? Paranormal? Some trick of my own mind? But I know this. I'll never work a night shift again. Some nights, when everything is quiet, I swear I can hear it calling my name. And I'm still not sure if it wants me back, or if it wants something else entirely.
I've driven that stretch of highway hundreds of times late at night and never had a problem until that night in October. I don't know if what I saw was real or if I imagined the whole thing, but I'll never forget it, and I'll never drive that road alone again. My name's Carter. I was 25 at the time, living in rural Oregon, working as a freelance graphic designer. I often drove from my small apartment in Medford to client meetings in Eugene or Portland. Usually I took the interstate. Sometimes I preferred the back roads, less traffic, more scenic. It was a Thursday night in late October 2019. Rain had just stopped, leaving the asphalt wet and reflective under the dim glow of streetlights. I was heading home after meeting a client, exhausted but happy with the finished project. The road I took is mostly 2 lanes, winding through forests with very few houses or gas stations for miles. It's the kind of road where your headlights feel like the only thing keeping the darkness at bay. About 30 minutes into the drive, I noticed a figure on the side of the road. At first, I thought it was a hitchhiker, tall, wearing dark clothing, standing still as if waiting for a car. I slowed down, my headlights illuminating them. The stranger waved. A normal wave, nothing threatening. I debated stopping, but something felt off. As I passed, I noticed they weren't walking. They didn't move at all, even after my car went by. I thought maybe it was someone just standing there, but then I caught a glimpse of their face. Pale, almost gray, with dark eyes that seemed hollow. I sped up, tried to shake it off. Maybe fatigue, maybe rain reflections. 5 minutes later, I hit a straight stretch. That's when I saw headlights behind me, a car I hadn't noticed. It stayed perfectly behind me, matching my speed. Every turn, every lane change, it mirrored me. I checked the rearview mirror. A black SUV was behind me. No plates, windows dark. The lights seemed dimmed, like they were watching, not just following. I tried to lose it, took every curve, sped up to 90 miles per hour on wet asphalt. The SUV stayed. I even pulled off at a deserted gas station, parked near the pumps and waited. Nothing. 5 minutes later, I got back on the road. And there it was again, waiting. But this time, I noticed something terrifying. The SUV's driver was the same figure I'd seen on the side of the road. No facial features, just pale, gray, hollow eyes. I panicked. My hands shook so badly I could barely steer. I called 911 while driving. The operator answered, but by the time I tried to explain, the SUV was gone. I thought I imagined it. Thought the adrenaline and rain had warped my vision. Then I got to a bridge I always cross. That's when I saw it. The figure was standing in the middle of the bridge, facing me. Impossible. I had crossed that bridge at 60 miles per hour just seconds ago. I slammed on the brakes, swerved, screeched past the figure, who somehow didn't move out of the way. The SUV reappeared behind me, taillights glowing like coals in the dark. I didn't stop until I hit a small gas station 10 miles later, heart racing, vision blurry. No SUV, no figure, nothing. Just rain dripping off the roof and my own heavy breathing. I reported it to the sheriff's office. They were polite, took notes, and suggested fatigue or hallucination. I've never doubted what I saw. I stopped taking that road. Even during the day, I avoid it. Sometimes when I'm driving late, I imagine headlights behind me or a figure standing in the trees. I've never seen anything like it again, but I don't want to. That stretch of highway is just quiet now in my memory, but it's alive in the worst possible way. If you ever drive alone at night and see someone standing in the dark, don't stop. Some things don't want to be found, and some things follow you home.
You never really know who's living next door. You wave, exchange small talk, maybe borrow a tool, and that's it. But sometimes, if you pay too much attention, you see things you wish you hadn't. I was 28 when I moved into my first real apartment, alone. A quiet neighborhood just outside of Boise, Idaho. Safe, peaceful, mostly retirees and small families. I worked remotely as an IT technician, spent most days indoors, and didn't really know my neighbors except for one, Mr. Larkin. He lived directly across the hall, mid-50s, balding, polite. The kind of man who smiled but never showed his teeth.
He always wore the same beige jacket, even in summer, and his apartment smelled faintly of bleach and old metal whenever his door opened. We'd chat briefly in the hallway. "Evening," he'd say. "Evening," I'd reply. Nothing strange, at least not at first. It started subtly. Some nights, around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd hear faint scraping sounds through the wall, metal dragging across tile, followed by a dull thud. At first, I thought he was fixing something, but it kept happening. Every night, same time. Then came the smell. A sour chemical odor that seeped under my door. It burned my throat, like a mix of bleach and decaying meat. I asked the landlord about it. He said no one else complained. When I mentioned it to Mr. Larkin, he just smiled. Cleaning's important. Can't let things fester. One night I came home late and saw him in the hallway, standing perfectly still, facing my door. When I stepped out of the stairwell, he didn't move, didn't blink. After a few seconds, he turned and walked into his apartment without a word. That's when I started locking my door twice. A week later, I got a delivery, a large cardboard box, heavy, unmarked. The delivery guy said it was for Larkin Unit 4B, but my unit was 4A. He must have mixed it up. Before I could call the office, curiosity got the better of me. The box wasn't sealed properly. Inside were plastic sheeting, heavy-duty gloves, rope, and bottles of industrial-grade cleaner. I froze. Then someone knocked, softly, 3 times. I opened the door a crack. It was him. "That box is mine," he said. Voice calm, but eyes wrong. "May I?" I handed it to him, trying to act normal. His fingers brushed mine, ice cold. He smiled. "You're a good neighbor," he whispered. That night, the noises were louder. Dragging, scrubbing, a muffled thump. At 3 a.m., I heard something new. A woman's voice. Faint. Desperate. Please stop." I called the police immediately. They arrived within 10 minutes, knocked on his door. No answer. But when they came back out, they said the apartment was empty. Completely empty. No furniture, no boxes, no sign anyone had ever lived there. They assumed I imagined it or mixed up the apartment numbers, but I knew what I heard. 2 days later, I got a call from the landlord. He said Unit 4B had been vacant for 3 months. No one named Larkin ever rented there. When I checked the hallway later that night, I noticed something new. The door to 4B had been sealed shut with police tape, and behind it, faintly, I could still smell bleach. I moved out the next morning. I never found out who he really was or what happened in that apartment. But sometimes, when I dream, I hear those faint scraping sounds again, right behind my wall. If you ever hear your neighbor cleaning in the middle of the night, don't knock. Some doors aren't meant to be opened.